Tokyo Ghoul is the most crazy, wild, absolute legendary manga that I almost never read. True say. I got into manga by reading a bunch of manhwa, webtoons, and yes, solo leveling. For years, I kind of stayed away from series like Tokyo Ghoul. Funny, right? Anyone who knows my IRL personality may find this interesting, but I'm not, or at least I wasn't a big fan of gory and extremely violent anime manga. I don't know. Maybe I prefer reading to be a peaceful escape rather than a daily reminder of reality.
But boy, did that change.
Point being, I picked it up, started reading, didn't stop reading, finished it, collapsed from exhaustion, and marveled at what I very much believe is a masterfully told story. TG is a seinen, even though it's kind of presented like a shonen. Seinen manga are generally aimed at 18-plus audiences, so this was definitely a first for me. One Punch Man, Berserk, Vagabond, and Akira all seinen for reference. Sui Ishida, the author's art style is tip-top. Some of the fight scenes early on were a bit hard to keep track of, but there are moments when I completely melted at how beautifully it was drawn. Throughout this video, there may be a few spoilers, so, if you're really one of those guys that doesn't want to know anything about what they're reading, I would definitely wait a little bit before watching this video. Needless to say, Tokyo Ghoul is a page turner, or a finger swiper, if you're digital, or even a mouse scroller, I guess. I don't know. Figure it out. I don't intend to delve too far into the plot because I truly believe that you should read this for yourself and create your own opinion, not the anime. I'm warning you, do not. You know who you are. Minor spoilers ahead though. Tokyo Ghoul tackles the war between humans and ghouls, but even then, it's so much more than that. The series is wow. I find Tokyo Ghoul relatable because its setting is very real. This isn't Hyrule or Aincrad, this is Tokyo, and while that may seem very far for us in the West, it's not. This is a city with real-world problems, and any other major metropolis can identify with them on varying levels. Tokyo Ghoul is filled with metaphors alluding to the post-bubble era in which it was created. The characters are all products of Japan's social and economic climate. One Redditor pointed out that people in the previous era saw flaws in the system and wanted to follow their dreams and break free of the system. So in Tokyo Ghoul, you kind of find this overlying theme of confusion and despair, etc. Essentially, you have the old, those already favored by the system and don't want to change, and the young who are being oppressed. In Tokyo Ghoul, the old would be the humans. They have their education, their privilege. The young would be the ghouls. Ghouls are expressly noted to lack primary education, with a few notable exceptions, and are stated to be unusable in society, more worthless than cattle, or something to that effect. This is what I really love about Tokyo Ghoul, because what almost feels like a shonen manga with a bunch of crazy fight scenes and awesome character designs, there's still so much thought and context behind the fights and all this, I can't. So you got groups such as the Aogiri, whose goal is to make the world a better place for the youth, aka ghouls, instead of being trapped in the crooked birdcage of society, long-held expectations for how things should operate. The protagonist is someone who was favored by the system, forced into being a ghoul, where they now notice the hardships and flaws of the system. Kaneki Kin is literally at the center of it all, one who can see both worlds clearly. Now, this is just one Redditor's take on some of the themes of the series, but that's the great thing about it. Besides all the shock factor and all the other things that make Tokyo Ghoul so great, it really is a manga that leaves a lot to talk about, and it kind of needs to be discussed. It needs to be talked about more. Yada yada yada, revolution amongst the old system, main character is awesome and amazing. You can tell why I like this series. Kaneki Kin definitely goes down as one of my favorite, if not my favorite protagonists of all time. And I definitely think Tokyo Ghoul's overarching themes is really what stood out to me the most. Like pre-2010s manga and anime, you're going to get a lot of the Naruto style mangas and the kind of traditional Shonen Jump mangas, in which I kind of like to think of it as more like a white picket fence type of life, where even though they're going to face adversities and they're going to be a bunch of people that are opposing them, and you can have, so much going on, you're still kind of in this like work hard, get tested, become a this, become a that, become Hokage, and your life is kind of outlined for you. Tokyo Ghoul is a bit of a modern take on this, where it's like, you can be perfectly good, not want to do any harm, just want to work your way through life, but that option's not even possible for you. Tokyo Ghoul is, at its heart, a story of rebellion. And it is sort of like a dystopian look on overthrowing old world systems and old world values into something new. I love how when you're introduced to the ghouls, you're kind of horrified by their reality. But as you start reading, you'll realize that the ghouls aren't the only monsters here. The humans are capable of doing so much worse than you'd imagine. Or maybe you would, because come on, look at the world. Lately in anime and manga, you'll see a trend of fighting fire with fire or using the power of the enemy to defeat the enemy, and in all honesty, this is nothing new. But Tokyo Ghoul does have an interesting effect in the sense that the enemy is using the very abilities of the fallen ghouls to capture and kill more ghouls. So the layers to it and the ethics and everything is really twisted and mixed up. And that's why I think the characters are so great in this series, because they're constantly being repressed and suppressed by the world around them. So they're very much products of their reality. And as the series develops, they're constantly in question of their reality. Kaneki himself, being a mix of both of these two worlds, is trying to balance what is right and what is wrong. You know what I mean? He is stuck in a situation where he does not believe that it's right to do what the ghouls do, but at the same time, he's also seeing a whole nother side to the issue and to the matter. The straight out, you know what I mean, cruelty of the CCG and the ghoul investigators. And at the same time, you're seeing the ghoul investigators are not all one and the same. I mean, how could they be? You have some who are very much out for revenge and are basically insane, but at the same time you have others who are just strictly doing it out of duty or out of their own past or out of their own problems or out of their own reasons. So there's so much different psychologies going on. There's so much different reasons for doing what they do. No character is the same. So I'm gonna be trying to make some videos on kind of just explaining and trying to find a way to describe how all these different cultural artifacts have impacted me and why they just may be worth checking out. Tokyo Ghoul has its flaws, but in my opinion it has more wins. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but come on, put some respect on my boy's name. Give this video a like or not, comment or whatever. It's really whatever.